Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great video for you today. We're going to be talking about innocence in prison. I know it's a tough subject. You know, people think, oh, who's innocent in prison? But I'm going to talk about a few cases that I know and what we did to help some people in prison. And I think it's going to be kind of interesting. Before I get started, please check me out on YouTube programs, Patreon programs. Well, let me get into this. There's two types of innocence and what we used to attack. And, you know, I did the law for 10 years. Paul Tellini, who you all know, is a good friend of mine. He did 27 years in prison. And he had a 30-year sentence, did 27 years. And he did the law more than I did, way more. One of my mentors in the law is so smart. We used to work on what they call 2255s, which is ineffective assistant counsel. And that's what you usually see on innocence case. Now, people ask me how many people are innocent in prison. I always say it's such bullshit. Everybody says they're innocent. No, they're not. I mean, I don't know what small percentage of the innocent in prison. But now there's two things. It's called actual innocence and innocence. Actual innocence is literally you didn't do that crime. And then there's innocent by the government fucking up. And we see a lot of that. What I mean by that is, take the case of Bill Dillon, and I'm going to do a video on him. He ended up doing 27 years in prison. He was actually innocent. And they had so much crap. DNA proved he was innocent. The dog handler was a phony guy. He's known around in this county, in Brevard County, Central Florida. There's more cases that were overturned with this guy. What a piece of work. And even the dogs are so bullshit as far as what they find and how they find stuff in prison. So they had a dog handler that was just a phony. And to actually do the dogs right, I'll explain that in a little bit. But also, the lead detective was having sex and dating one of the witnesses, so he wanted to get this guy convicted. And here he was, a 21-year-old, young, good-looking, blonde-haired kid. He goes to Florida State Prison, and his first day in prison, he was gang raped by 5 guys. Think about that. Put a pillow over his head and held him down and gang raped him. And I used to often think about this when I got out. And I met Bill, and I interviewed Bill, and I got to know Bill. What a genuine, sweet guy. He plays the guitar, writes music, and how he's not as bitter as you could think. I remember when the Florida legislator, they gave him $1.3 million. Big fucking deal for 27 years of your life. They should have gave him $1 million a year, and that still wouldn't cover it. But it's some bullshit that goes, and you know, the prosecutors fought that case the whole way. And I think that's just straight bullshit. It really was very, very bad what happened to him. Well, what I mean by actual innocence, so there's innocence where a person is, the prosecutors don't give over discovery. They hold back evidence. The police do corrupt things. Now, the guy could be guilty, or maybe guilty of something, maybe guilty of little things or not. He could be a lot of things. But actual innocence, I mean, you might have been in another state, you might not even be around, and here you are in prison. And you know, I worked on a couple of cases with Paulie, and when you read the cases and you read the government corruption that goes on, that's mostly what, you know, they could really cut down on innocent people in prison by being overly cautious. See, a prosecutor's job is not to just get a conviction. Now, a defense attorney's is. A defense attorney is supposed to fight for his client no matter what and give him the best defense possible. A prosecutor's job doesn't say to do that. A prosecutor's job is to seek the truth. And wherever that truth leads, they're supposed to follow that thing. That doesn't mean a conviction. Now, I remember, you know, I used to watch Nancy Grace. She's the crazy bitch that looks all mean on TV. Oh my God. Now, she supposedly has this 100-0 record. That means you had either no fucking heart or you didn't find a case that was a little bit questionable by somebody. I often talk about, like, when anybody's 100% one way or the other. If you take a Democrat and a Republican, and the guy goes, oh, I got a 100% record voting with the Republicans, and he's a Republican, I think he's an asshole. Because you can't tell me every single thing the Democrats want is bad. Vice versa. If you're a Democrat and I'm 100% with the liberal vote and all this, you can't tell me there's not good laws that the Republicans want to pass. So that 100% thing is bullshit. Our system is built around the jury system, which I'm not so much of a believer in sometimes, because the jury system is flawed. You get people, you're supposed to be judged by your peers. Is that really the case when you have an all-white jury and a black defendant, or you have an all-Hispanic defendant and an all-white or black jury? You know, it's very hard to get really juries of your peers, and even education level. You know, you might have people who are not as educated, and then now they get on a jury and they see this guy who's a doctor or somebody else and say, oh, he had it all, he had money, and they have biases. And it's not that they're calling them bad people, it's just that's what they have. They have biases, and you can't stop that. You can't have something that there's very, very few things in this world except math that is 100%. You know, it's not theories, it's not. You know, when you have, first of all, when you have a circumstantial case, and people, you know, with the Gabby Petito case, and everybody's convicting the guy, nobody knows yet. Nobody knows, and that's how people get convicted of questionable means. People, I've got some pretty bad emails about when I said, hey, O.J. Simpson, he was found innocent by a supposable jury of his peers. But he was found innocent. He had good lawyers, and, you know, the glove don't fit. You know, you have to acquit and all that kind of stuff that went on. And I think videos and stuff, it's happening less because there is so much video evidence today that it becomes where, you know, hey, listen, we could put things on timelines and videos and stuff. But even the Gabby Petito cases right now, and you don't have total video coverage of everything. So they're gonna be able to piece together stuff, but I'm telling you, unless they have a smoking gun, it's hard for me to say, hey, listen, we gotta put this person away for life. Because I saw innocent people in prison. Not many, believe me, not many. Paulie probably saw more than I did. I know he has. And when you read the cases and you read the police misconduct and the prosecutorial misconduct, and here's the problem with that. Very rarely are they held accountable. Very rarely are they held accountable. And here's the problem. You know, they have this protection, immunity, and I disagree with it because that there's no recourse. And if they even win a lawsuit, who do you think pays for that lawsuit? You do. I used to say to myself, now I went to prison for 4 12-year sentences. Everybody goes, what does that mean? Well, they ran them concurrent, so I had to do 12. But if I won one of my cases on an appeal, I would still have to do the 12 years because I had 4 of them. I'd have to win every one of them. That's why people say, why do you get 3 life sentences? Because if he wins one on appeal, he still got to do the life sentence. Why do they keep prosecuting somebody? He's got convicted of murder, but now he's going to another state to get a conviction. Well, what happens if he beats this case for some reason and he actually did that one? He actually didn't do that one, but it was the same MO, same everything, and they used all this and they get it. And then they find out something happened and that guy was found innocent in that case, but he's really a murderer. So now that other place still convicts him, and now he still has to do the time. So you can have multiple sentences. Now, I understand that and why it's needed, and I actually agree with it, if you want to call it that. That, listen, there's sometimes you should prosecute. Now, if a guy wants to plead guilty, that's a whole nother, story. If the guy says, hey, listen, I did that robbery, I did that robbery, I did that robbery, why go to trial? He's admitting it. He loses a lot of his rights when you take a plea deal. But ineffective assistance of counsel, and what does that mean? Ineffective assistance of counsel means the lawyer fucked up. Usually lawyers fuck up what they call voir dire. Voir dire is where they question the juror, they give jury instructions wrong, something of that nature. Voir dire is when you're actually picking the jury, and then there's jury instructions. Most of your appeals and most of your stuff for ineffective counsel comes in that form. I mean, I read a case, and we were doing a case, and the lawyer it was in this transcript. The judge had to wake the lawyer up 2 or 3 times. Wake the fucking defense attorney up. And the guy still didn't win the appeal because they didn't consider where he was sleeping. It was overwhelming that it would have been innocent, or that he could have made a better defense than him sitting there sleeping. Obviously, you'd think that's cut and dry. The guy's sleeping on the case. Let's give him another trial. Let's give him another lawyer. Let's see what happens. It's not the case. Appeals, what happens in a case, and whether it's the R. Kelly case they did a video on, or whatever case it's going to be, what happens is if you lose a case, your next shot is you appeal. You appeal that case, and then it goes to what they call the Court of Appeals. Now, the Court of Appeals is a 3-judge panel who go over the case. Now, they don't retry the case, so a lot of people say, well, why didn't he get that in the appeal? He should say that in the appeal. No, there's only certain things you can do in an appeal that they're not going to retry the case, and especially with a jury verdict, they're not going to retry a case. They don't like to overturn a jury. I mean, actually, a judge at the end of a trial A jury could say guilty. That judge sitting on that bench could override that jury and let that guy out. Could do that. In fact, after almost every case you're going to look at, if you really read transcripts, after the prosecutor rests, they get to put their case on. Usually the defense puts a motion in to dismiss on lack of evidence or for whatever reason they want. They usually put in a motion to throw it out at this point. And it's important at this point because if they get it thrown out, you can't retry them. Once you swear in a jury, once that jury, the 12 people are sworn in and seated, then it becomes double jeopardy. You can't get retried for that case. O.J. Simpson could come out today and say, I murdered her. I hated her. I murdered her. I murdered Ron Goldman. They could not convict him again on that. It's double jeopardy. He already was acquitted with a jury after the jury's sworn in. Now, that's why a lot of places or a lot of states will dismiss the case before jury's sworn without prejudice. Now, with prejudice, then they can't do it. Without prejudice, this means they can go look for more evidence and then bring it back again. But then they're on a time clock, obviously a statute of limitations time clock. You know, if they don't indict him or if they leave that indictment go or whatever it's gonna go, they can't redo the case. So it's important to know that. But prosecutors, especially on high-profile cases, they want a conviction that makes their career. Most prosecutors, sadly, are not career people. They usually, maybe some of the felony ones are, but even when they get out after 20 years, they do 20 years as a prosecutor, what do? They open up a defense firm, and they know both ends of the sticks, and they usually are good. But what do? They want a big conviction rate so they could, all of a sudden say, hey, listen, look what I did. I was a prosecutor. Now I'm going to get you off. I know the game. Look at my record here. I'm bringing my record to the defense table. So it becomes a game for them, and it's people's lives. So when I watched an innocent case, and when I read a case, we read this case, and when I tell you, it jumps at you. When you read enough cases, and you go through the law, it jumps at you. When we did the law, Paulie and I, it was funny, we took a class. The federal prison gave us a class. You had to be a paralegal, and a retired federal judge came in, and he gave a class. You had to be a paralegal to take this class. And when he did the class, he used to say, listen, he goes, you guys are probably the smartest guys I run into. He goes, we run into a lot of nuts that just want to put crazy shit in. Like we, as guys who know the law, we would never cite a case from, let's say, the 13th Circuit, which is California, or 9th Circuit is California, or the 11th Circuit is here in Atlanta. You'd only quote a case from your circuit, and of course the Supreme Court of the United States. That's the law of the land. I'm not going to take a 4th Circuit case and put that into my thing, because these judges and these judges' clerks, they read so much that they're going to blow through you and never going to even listen to that case, even if it's on point. Very rarely do you take a case that's in your circuit because one of their fellow people who they know very well ruled on a case. And of course, the Supreme Court of the United States. So what would happen was, so the judge comes in and says, hey, listen, I want to tell you guys, I want you guys to write the way you normally write. He goes, lawyers, actual lawyers, have to they use legalese. It's a term, legalese, meaning they're going to have to say, the defendant, know this. Where us, as what they call pro se litigants, pro se means, the actual meaning of pro se in Latin means for oneself. So when you do a pro se case, you're working with your friend and you're helping him. It's under him. He signs it. He does everything. So it's pro se. He's putting in this motion. Now, judges know right off the bat when they get a 2255 or whatever they get. And if you read it and they read it and they like what they're hearing, and what I mean by this is we used to write stuff like, this is bullshit. You could see the cop was lying. You could see this cop was prejudiced against this guy. No, nobody in their right mind would do that. Now, a lawyer's not going to do that. They can't do that. But they used to like when we did it, when we knew what we were doing. Not you sounding crazy as fucking nuts, you can't start cursing and shit. Can't do that. But we used to tell a story in a motion, and they would like that. And they would read it and say, you know what? We got to remember, a judge is just a person who's schooled on the law. Obviously, they have to be lawyers, but they're schooled in the law, so they know what's bullshit or not. And they're human beings. They have kids. They have a family and a wife, and they have issues. They might have a family fight. They might have financial issues. Whatever it is, they're human beings. So, but they're human beings who usually, and I'm a believer in the judge system, have a pretty clear view, and they will weed through bullshit. I was up here in a case in my courthouse, and I watched a judge rip apart these two cops on a case, and it was just fucking great. It was during a hearing to throw out evidence, and he did, and he saw right through the bullshit of the cops and said it to the prosecutor and told the defense, I want you to put in a motion for dismissal. Told the fucking defense that. The prosecutor put these cops on. I was sitting in the courtroom, and it was obvious they were lying. It was really that obvious. So I'm like, wow, this is real. So if you ever get a chance, matter of fact, go down to your courthouse. Go to the felony division, and you could sit in on a trial. You could sit in on a murder trial. You could sit in on a robbery trial, a DUI trial. Whatever it is, you could sit in on them. Go sit in on them and learn our system and how it works. You'll be a lot better off for it because you'll see some of the bullshit that comes out and see how you would do it as a jury. But then look at the jury and see how they're reacting and see where that comes from, because that's where usually 2255s come in. So a 2255 comes in, and if the guy's actually innocent, actual innocence we call it, you can also get places like the Innocent Project. They're very, very good. A lot of colleges, a lot of law schools do stuff and research cases and pick up cases, what they call pro bono. Pro bono means for free. So they'll pick up cases that to give back to society and see that people are, got a fair or a good lawyer and a good representation. Because it's sad when that doesn't happen. And when you see a person who's innocent, and again, I used to blow my mind away. I was guilty. And I was abused. I was strapped down naked. I was pissed on. I was beaten. I was put in the hole for 3 years out of my 11. And I had a rough run. And it was mostly because I was fighting the system. Now, how would you like to be actually innocent? Actually, you did not commit the crime. When I see these guys get out of prison and I'll put them on TV, and I usually cry. I really do. I know I'm a tough guy and all that bullshit, but literally it makes me cry because I know what that man went through for 20 years, 22 years, 28 years. And you see a man get out after he was found innocent. And it drives me nuts when you got prosecutors who just keep fighting it right to the end, knowing any logical man could see that this was a fucking sham trial, a lot of misconduct, and they still want to fight it. They don't want to give a break to anybody. It's not even a break. They don't even want to acknowledge that they fucked up. And that's where most of your people become guilty, even though they're innocent, is misconduct by prosecutors. Yes, you could be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but that's very rare. You'll have an uneducated man get conned, if you want to call it a better word, conned into writing a statement so he thinks he's going home. He might have a low IQ. And they say, listen, you can just write this. And they literally tell them what to write. I read cases like that. And it's just like, you wonder, you say, man, I know the guy's not the smartest guy in the world. But, if I'm innocent, I'm a very hard-nosed man. I'm going to fight that fucking case to the end. That's just me. Most people will. But you'll find people who, get, how do you say that word? Bamboozled into fucking signing a fucking confession or whatever they do. That's why, as much as people say, nah, let's just get to the truth with this Gabby Petito and the guy Brian. He's not wrong to catch a lawyer really early. And a good lawyer will tell you to shut your mouth. Because the prosecutors, sadly, are not looking for the truth. Most prosecutors are looking for a win. But it even goes before that. The cops are worse. The cops get their fucking nose into one way. They're like a bloodhound. They want that guy. They're going to get that guy. And that's wrong. That's how people become innocent in prison, and they didn't do it. And then it just snowballs. They get another guy to say this, like they did here. They got a phony fucking handler. Listen, they found a guy in L.A. They found where the guy was messing around with DA in the labs. That's why I didn't like Kamala Harris. She wouldn't let these guys off death row. Are you fucking kidding me? All this evidence is out there that these guys were, wrongly convicted. I'd rather let all of them out if there's even one on that fucking death row that is innocent or in life in prison and he's innocent. That drives me crazy. Now there's actual innocence, and there's I call it technical innocence, where these guys didn't have enough evidence to convict the guy. But who knows the truth? The guy who did it or didn't do it, he knows in his heart. And I used to think about Bill Dillon, and I think, man, gang raped your first day in prison, you didn't do it. Didn't fucking do it. How that man is not the most bitter, fucking mean, angry person in the world, I don't know. Thank God. The guy has such strong faith. He has such strong inner strength that's amazing to me. And I'm going to have him on the show. I'm going to bring him on a video. We're going to do a whole video. I'm going to go see him because it's amazing to me. It's amazing. So actual innocence is a thing. I have seen it, and it drives me nuts. And I used to sit with Paulie, and we'd say, look at this shit. You know, we'd pull our hair out almost, you know, because what lawyer don't catch this shit? What lawyers don't catch this shit? But listen, there's a lot of lawyers out there. Just because you got a law degree doesn't make you smart. Doesn't make you even understand the law. That's why a lot of them lose their licenses. They don't get work. And, you know, there's good and there's bad in every profession. Sadly, when you're a bad lawyer in that profession, people's lives are ruined. And that's the sad part of it. But I think I give you a little bit insight in innocence, actual innocence in prison. I hope you like what we do. Please like, subscribe, comment below. You know I'm going to answer you. Keep the suggestions coming. We love that. Check us out. Please share the video. Have a great day, everybody. Please make good choices. Don't be one of those guys that have to get a lawyer and figure it all out after that. Have a good life. Make good choices and help somebody every day. Take care, everybody. Stay strong.